this guy played after the NBA season. He did a full training camp with the Slovenian national team, played in the Olympics, and then took 3 weeks off, which I guess is a lot for a guy like that.
The 3 weeks is probably at the Golden Corral.
Yeah.
So one couple of fantastic performances this week. 60 points from karlanthonytowns, your Dominican brother.
Yeah.
And then Kyrie dropped 60 on the hometown team.
Yeah, in baseball, they have a saying. It's known as the dog days of August. In the NBA right now, you're looking at the dog days of March. The season's coming to a close. You're in the home stretch. And, for a team like Brooklyn and Minnesota, they're looking to round into playoff form. And especially for a part-time player like Kyrie Irving, he's going to put forth as much effort as he can to try to stay fresh and in rhythm for the playoffs. Because remember, he has not had a full litany of games under his belt.
Yeah.
And he's in a unique circumstance, and he will be for the very foreseeable future, in my opinion. I don't want to get into local vaccine laws, but
I got into it before you arrived.
Yeah, it sounds like he's probably only going to be able to play away games for the rest of this season and the playoffs. So every time he steps out on the court, he's looking to make a statement, and by that last night he did. He's probably, in my opinion, he's one of the top 3 at worst most skilled players we've ever seen grace this earth. Like he's just a maestro with ball handling, shooting. There's not an offensive weakness that you can point to in Kyrie Irving's game. And he was special last night. But going back to the original, the dog days of March, you're going to see a lot of high scoring games in the NBA this year. Because there's a lot of teams that, for all intents and purposes, are just playing out the stretch, either getting ready for the playoffs or they're 1, 2, 3 Costa Rica, like our boy Bubba's doing here next week. So I would expect to see a lot of high scoring games, and also too, you're going to see a lot of teams rest their veteran guys and play a lot of younger players. And where do younger players struggle the most in the NBA? Defensively?
Yeah.
And
that can be both teams that are in playoff positions, but their position's relatively secure and they want to make sure everyone's healthy. And it can also be bottom tier teams who there's no further benefit in playing a veteran guy. Might as well give these minutes to a younger guy and season him a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that kind of explains what's going on in this month and towards the end of the season, right? And that makes sense. But I just feel like, and I haven't done the research as far as the history, but I do have here where it lists about 20 performances of 49 points or more, and those 49 points was done in less than 40 minutes, mm-hmm. right? So what I'm saying is, it seems like it's more 50-point games, more 60-point games. What can you attribute that to?
Well, I mentioned the part about the defense, but look at who is putting on the performances of 50, 52, 56, 60 points.
Let me say some of the names here for the people. So you have Luka,
All-Star,
who has done 40, 49 or more 4 times this season, which I did not know.
Yep.
You got Jason Tatum.
All-Star.
You got jamorant.
All-Star.
Durant, Trey Young, LeBron, Towns, Greek Freak, Jaylen Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that.
He had the one, right?
Yeah, for everybody on that list except for Jaylen Brown.
Jokic.
Everybody on that list except for Jaylen Brown is, and with all due respect, Jaylen Brown's a great player, but everybody you just named is a top tier scorer in the NBA when they want to be. Jokic is forte, and Ja Morant's forte isn't shooting and scoring. or necessarily putting the ball in the basket. It's the way they impact the game overall. But, you know, I always say that in the NBA, it takes about 20 to 30 games for guys to round into form. And especially with guys coming off COVID and, you know, the short off season. And there were, for Luka especially, there was a lot of discussion about his weight coming into camp. You know, this guy played after the NBA season. He did a full training camp with the Slovenian national team, played in the Olympics, and then took 3 weeks off, which I guess is a lot for a guy like that.
The 3 weeks is probably at the Golden Corral.
Yeah. Well,
because it's like, you know, he was fit all through the Olympics.
No,
In 3 weeks, it all went very wrong.
Yeah, but keep in mind that he had a very short off season. You know, and those European training camps, those things are no joke. Those are 2-a-day practices. You're going through 2, 3, 4 hour practices and sessions, you know, for a month and a half, 2 months leading up to the Olympics. But then with a guy like Tatum, who, you know, had a serious case of COVID last year, got it again this year. And he, you know, once he recovered from that, and it took him a little bit to get right, you see him, he's one of the best players in the league right now, especially putting on the performances he's put on in the last 2 months. So I always say that, you know, for these veteran superstars, it takes them a few games, and by a few, I mean 20 to 30, to round into the form and the rhythm of the season, because they want to be at their peak in April, May, and June, not, you know, November and December.
Right.
Now, I guess like the other question that comes with some of these 50-point games, like, you know, do they almost kind of like push each other in the sense like you see a guy drop 60 like karlanthonytowns, and you're Kyrie and you're having a great first quarter, great second quarter against the Magic the other night, and yeah, let me just stay in and roll with this. You know, you're up by 20 from the beginning of the game, basically. It wasn't a competitive necessity, but you're just like, hey, I'm rolling. Let me just play this out.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it was a competitive game, I think you would have seen Kyrie break Kobe's record with the way he was going last night. But I would say that every game, every performance is a case-by-case basis. You know, you look at karlanthonytowns, he shot incredibly. I think he was 9 for 12 from 3 that night. And he was also playing against one of the league's worst defenses, one of the league's youngest teams, and one of the team that plays the highest pace in the league. So every Spurs game is going to be a track